If you grew up in the 80s and you're watching a plethora of movies that featured a bunch of young actors at the time, it was quite a monumental moment with all the movies that were out
Are you kidding? I love the 80s.
and a lot of young actors that were in different roles. Some of them crossed each other's paths. They made movies together. Some of them were all together. Some of them were not. And at that time, in about 1985, there was a article in the New York magazine called Hollywood's Brat Pack, and it featured on the cover you had Rob Lowe, Judd Nelson, and Emilio Estevez. And it was written by a columnist named David Blum. And he got that inspiration from the original name of the Rat Pack when you had like Frank Sinatra and Sammy Davis Jr. Well, he called these group of young actors members of the Brat Pack. And as you can see here, it says the Brat Pack was a nickname given to a group of young actors who frequently appeared together in teen oriented coming of age films during the 1980s. The term, playfully referencing to the Rat Pack from the 1950s and the 1960s, gained popularity after a 1985 New York Magazine cover stories. These actors were often seen in ensemble casts of iconic 80s movies like John Hughes' The Breakfast Club and Joel Schumacher's St. Elmo's Fire. Some core members included Emilio Estevez, Anthony Michael Hall, Rob Lowe, Andrew McCarthy, Demi Moore, Judd Nelson, Molly Ringwald, and Ali Sheedy. And these different actors had different reactions to the name of the Brat Pack. And that is what inspired Andrew McCarthy to do a documentary that was just released over the weekend on Hulu called Brats. And he decided to do this documentary based on the book that he had previously wrote called Brat, an 80s story. And so he wanted to do a continuation of this. And so what Andrew McCarthy decided to do was to get the core members of the Brat Pack. And he was able to get most of them. He was not able to get Judd Nelson, Anthony Michael Hall, or Molly Ringwald. However, he was able to get some of the members of the Brat Pack. He was able to get Emilio Estevez, Ali Sheedy, Demi Moore, Rob Lowe. So he got about half of the members of that core of the Brat Pack. So he wanted to do this documentary because that really bothered him the most. When you watch this documentary, you could just tell that he was the one that really was impacted the most. He felt that it ruined his career as an actor. And when he talked to the other members of the Brat Pack, he was able to get their reactions, and they had different reactions. Some were embracing it, some were say it is what it is. But let me share with you the opening of the documentary that was released on Hulu.
If you were coming of age in the 1980s, then the Brat Pack was at or near the center of your cultural awareness. I mean, we were who you wanted to hang with, who you emulated or envied, who you wanted to party with. But for those of us experiencing the Brat Pack from the inside, it was something very different.
So, as you can see there, Andrew McCarthy had a different point of view, and that's why he wanted to get together with the rest of the members of the Brat Pack. But he didn't talk to all of them, like I said earlier. In fact, there was an article here as to why Molly Ringwald and Judd Nelson don't appear in Andrew McCarthy's Bratz documentary. And it says that Molly Ringwald may have been one of the biggest stars of the Brat Pack era, but she doesn't appear in Andrew McCarthy's new Hulu documentary, Brats. Both Ringwald and her Breakfast Club co-star Judd Nelson turned down requests to appear in the documentary, McCarthy told Entertainment Tonight. I mean, they both are in the film in the sense that there's a lot of clips and interviews and things, said the director and actor who played Ringwald's love interest in the teen rom-com Pretty in Pink. Nevertheless, the Brat Pack is an ongoing relationship, he said. Some people are at different places in their lives to want to or not want to talk about it. I think that just informs it even more. I mean, that's from my takeaway from it, he said. Ringwald and Nelson show up in archival footage in Bratz, with Nelson making a last minute phone call to McCarthy at the end of the film. Meanwhile, Demi Moore, Rob Lowe, Emilio Estevez, Ali Sheedy, John Cryer, and other actors who found fame as teens and 20 somethings in the 1980s join McCarthy on screen to hash out the era's lasting impact. And check out the image there. You had McCarthy, Ali Sheedy, Demi Moore, and John Cryer. All of them were in the documentary, like I said earlier. I was surprised that many people would want to speak to me about that did, because I thought the biggest challenge would be to get people to participate, McCarthy told Entertainment Tonight. I knew it was sort of dodgy in some people's lives. And then he talks about the term Brat Pack, coined by New York reporter David Blum in the 1985 cover story about the slew of hot young movie stars taking over Hollywood. And then about where it was a riff on the Rat Pack, which was from Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., who were the toast of Hollywood in Las Vegas in the 50s and 60s. And it said in the documentary, McCarthy, who also appeared alongside Lowe, Moore, Estevez, Sheedy, and Nelson in the 1985 hit drama St. Elmo's Fire, said the Brat Pack moniker affected my life massively. And McCarthy definitely said that, and he talked about that a lot in that documentary. McCarthy gets no argument from Estevez, who says the derogatory sound label all but assured that none of the actors would ever appear on screen together again. We were kryptonite to each other, Estevez says. While all the actors agree that the Brat Pack label implied that they didn't take their craft seriously, Moore and Lowe seem to have been better able to shrug it off. And if you watch that documentary, I did notice that when he talked to Demi Moore and Rob Lowe. I look at everything as happening to us, not us, Moore says in the film, while Lowe appears to thrilled to reminisce about an era in which stars could have filled Shea Stadium. And I remember that quote. And even Ali Sheedy embraced that term, the Brat Pack, as well. So, but I can understand why the other actors did not want to appear into it. But the only person I did not notice was Anthony Michael Hall. And like I said earlier, why he wasn't in there, there's no article about that, so I couldn't find anything. But this article talked about how and why Ringwald and Nelson did not want to appear on camera. But he was able to get their point of views, and it was just an open book discussion. Now, they didn't get together as a group. Andrew went to go visit each and every one of these individuals and get their points of view. And like I said earlier, some of them basically did not have a reaction. They didn't take it personal. Others embraced it, but he was able to get some other actors of that age that could have been included in that Brat Pack community. He talked to John Cryer.
I am not in the Brat Pack.
He talked to Leah Thompson.
Are you in the Brat Pack?
I'm Brat Pack adjacent.
That's what I was saying.
He talked to Tim Hudson.
Have you talked to the others? The others, like, again, it feels like a cult or something.
Yeah.
And he even talked to the author himself, David Blum. So they cleared the air. And David Blum basically said that he has no regrets of what he did. And which, as a journalist, he felt good about it. He thought it was a good article to write. But basically, it was one of those movies that Andrew really was coming to grips with. And as you watch this documentary, it's one of those things where he really got to the point where he was actually embracing it. And so he wanted to do this and to get some clarity and to, feel, if you want to say he wanted to do this to feel much better about himself and to do that, well, yeah, he did. For me, as a teenager, I could relate to some of these characters. There was just a plethora of movies of those young actors. And for me, I really enjoyed this movie, or I should say, instead of a movie, it really was a documentary. It's out on Hulu. Did you get to see it yourself? If not, tell me what you thought of the documentary. And would it be something that you would be interested in watching? And so please let me know, are there any movies in that decade that you grew up watching, that you enjoyed watching? Let me know in the comments what's some of the movies that you liked. So let's have a good discussion about this. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please give this video a like and subscribe to my channel wherever you may be. No matter how high you may soar, always stay grounded.